All right. Hi, everyone. I am Carly Sage, and I am here today with Dr. Jeff Wolfman. He's a board certified functional family physician with over 30 years of experience guiding people through chronic complex conditions. And he also serves as a medical advisor to Centropics, the company behind the Kloud. And that's what we'll be talking about today. And with that, we're thrilled to welcome Michelle Faber. Hi, Michelle. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi, yes. Michelle is the president of Hyperbaric Central, and we're going to share a truly special topic, and that is how the cloud mat and the hyperbaric oxygen therapy, or HBOT, how they work synergistically together. So I'm really excited to be talking about this today. Welcome, Dr. Jeff, and welcome, Michelle.
Hello, good to be here.
Good to have you. So let's talk a little bit about just for those people who are completely new to what PEMF is a class. Now, the cloud is PEMA, as you'll share, but what PEMF is, and yeah, and then we'll go from there.
Cool. Well, in my career of working with very complex folks, and it over time, things are just getting more and more complex. And I know, Michelle, a lot of the people you work with are seeking your advice and help because they have complex, challenging things that often standard medicine has not had a lot to offer. And um, things aren't getting less complex, they're getting more complex. I mean, the amount of things that the body has to deal with just
Yes, they are.
continue to escalate. So we have to get more and more creative and look at things that maybe we haven't looked at. And I know in the class of like both hyperbarics and PMF, this is bringing in some additional input to try and help the body to move towards a greater state of health and wellness and vitality and recovery. And so PEMF, one of the reasons I am so passionate about it is two, one, I see it as a foundational piece to power this self-healing response, and two, it has finally evolved into a much more sophisticated technology. It stands for pulsed electromagnetic field. So we are bioelectromagnetic beings. The cell is actually more sensitive to energy than it is to chemistry. And so, what, in a very basic way, like let's do an analogy. You have this phone, it's able to do a million different things, but it has to have energy to do it. And when the battery starts getting low and it goes to low power mode, it starts shutting down all the non-essential programs and just goes to the very, very basics like to make an emergency phone call. So if you think of the body's energy system as the energy levels come down and down, it starts shutting. I can't detox. Nope, I can't deal with that microbe. No, I can't heal that tissue because I only got energy to maintain basic stuff. Well, one of the things you do with this phone is you lay it on a wireless charger, and a pulsed electromagnetic field runs through that, raises the electron potential of the battery, and now you can do anything and you can do 100 things at once because you've got the energy to do it. So PEMF, or the pulsed electromagnetic field, in a somewhat similar way, the body, you lay the body on it, a very sophisticated pulsating field runs through the body and raises the energy potential at a molecular level. And then the body decides, oh, now I have the energy to regenerate this, to heal this, to work on this, which domino effect leads to improved quality of life and feeling better, discomfort, sleep, mood, cognition, etc. So that's in a very, very condensed nutshell. And then the second piece that I talked about was it's really been about 25 years since there's been any major advance in PEMF. It's been around for 60 years. It is standard of care in Eastern Europe. That's kind of where it was developed, in Russia and Eastern Europe. Every hospital, all the clinics have them, but there hadn't been a major advance for like 25 years until the cloud was developed by a German biophysicist who's now in his 80s. It's the Thomas Edison of electromagnetics for vitality and self-healing. And he
Can
created the
you
cloud.
say
Yeah, go
Could you
ahead.
say what he originally created before he created the cloud? Because
Yeah,
he has a more famous PMF system that
he,
people
he
will
he
know.
does. Yeah, thank you for that,
Hmm.
Michelle. So he was the creator of the Beamer signal, and that came out about 25 years ago. It at the time it was a significant evolution. It was the first somewhat broadband signal, and it brought PMF to the West. They brought PMF into the awareness and into people's homes and clinics for the first time, really in the Western. And so he this that signal is the same as it was 25 years ago. Now the bells and whistles and the cosmetics have changed, but the signal is the same. He continued to evolve the technology and continued to research and create a more and more sophisticated signal, and that is the cloud. The cloud in 15 minutes provides 50, as in 50, more stimulating impulses than the Beamer does and other devices on the market. And I can go into more like why that is, but it's kind of like the older, I mean, you can get PMF from China for $1,000 or something, or older technology, but it's kind of like if you think of a music analogy, you're getting something that's two piano keys versus an entire 30-piece orchestra. The cloud is the only one in the world with an ultra broadband, ultra complex signal that covers all the bases. And every molecule vibrates at a different spot on that. And so if you have something that's only vibrating here, only vibrating here, you're not getting that full spectrum effect. So that, and I'm
Mhm.
I'm interested in outcomes. I I've seen cool stuff over the years at conferences and stuff. I used to lecture at holistic conferences, and this is the next best thing and the next best thing, and it's fascinating. But if it didn't have consistent outcomes, and I imagine, Michelle, that's what took you into the HBOT world too, is like
Mhm, mhm.
you're gonna, utilize and use things that have outcomes, like people see meaningful change. And as I talked about, the more complicated things have become, I feel that synergy is important because single inputs don't work as well as they used to because people don't have single issues going on who have chronic stuff. So we need to bring in multiple inputs. And I feel this is a core piece that holds great potential for the combination of these.
Many of us are real confident with oxygen because of all that we've been hearing about hyperbaric therapy. So, if you have a hyperbaric chamber, how is it that the PMF is going to enhance the value of having extra oxygen in your system?
So if we look at, and again, I want to just make super clear that when I say the word PMF, it's kind of like people think, oh, they're all the same. As long as it's quote PMF, it doesn't matter, which is way, way not not the case.
Mm.
Um, because it's like saying supplements, like, oh, yeah, I take supplements. It's like, some cheap calcium from Costco versus a very complex herbal nutritional regimen that has multiple factors all together synergistically. So the cloud is in a class by itself because it's the only one with this ultra broadband signal. So I just want to make that clear. But even with that, if you look at the PEMF literature, what a pulsed electromagnetic field does, it clearly improves um, it, circulation and microvascular perfusion, increases nitric oxide production, um, accelerates tissue repair, reduces inflammation, improves sleep quality, circadian rhythm, mental clarity, mood, mitochondrial and function ATP, regulating the immune response, muscle tension, supports lymphatic flow and detox. I mean, these are all things that there's a lot of the things that overlap, right, with what hyperbarics brings. But the piece that I find so critical is whether it's red light, hyperbaric supplements, body work, infrared, acupuncture, IV nutrients, whatever, for the body to respond to those things, it has to have energy and voltage. And so the cloud brings energy and voltage, charges at the molecular electron level, as well as doing all the things I just said, so that it can then respond much, much greater than it could if it did not have full battery. So whatever effect something else has, be it HBOT, supplements, etc., what I have found is people's response to it is like doubled and tripled because now the system is charged ahead of time and they're able to, for instance, like doing a cloud HBOT stack is amazing. And I've had numerous people who've done that. And they're like, oh my gosh, I just took off again. Like they had been using their HBOT, had seen great things, but it sort of plateaued off and then when they brought in the cloud, they took off again. Mental clarity, energy, etc. So it's great synergy. And to me, it's like the foundation that you build these other inputs upon. Because if you don't have charged batteries and you have an imbalanced system, then you can do these other things, but the body can only partially respond. And there was with the other thing with the cloud, it's the only unit to have ever done a large scale outcomes trial with real world users using their device. No other PEMF unit has ever done that. And they looked at 400 people, and the improvements were dramatic.
Well, and you were telling me that the mat is because of the way the frequency is, you don't ever get tired of using the frequency, that your body never actually fatigues out of it, and so it continues to improve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a great point. I mean, the system, the body will often like get deaf to something. There'll be like therapeutic fatigue. For instance, if you take the exact same supplement over and over and over again, eventually like you may get improvement, but then it just stops. So one of the patents of the cloud is what's called superposition, which means this very complex signal goes through and then it's overlapped by its own signal again. So it's like this ultra complex overlapping with harmonics and which it's like listening to 25 bands all at the same time versus one drum just hitting over and over and over, which a lot of the units are just like this one signal, just boom, 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 and it's very narrow. This is ultra complex and it just keeps it constantly changing and moving. So that's the other thing I find is like people continue to respond.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is really great. I understand that there's actually a president of one of the largest hyperbaric companies that owns one of these and uses it directly inside his chamber. Is that right?
So I know of now it is a lithium battery. So take that for what it is. It's wireless, and so it can be used without being plugged into anything, but is a lithium battery. But in units that are, then this is not official. You got to go. But so people bring iPads and all kinds of things into the chambers, right? That have lithium batteries in them. But I do know people who use it simultaneously, and have, found that to be a multiplier for sure. And it's super
Wow.
convenient because you can do both at the same time. The other option would
Yeah.
be to do like I have a partner who has a hard chamber facility, and that's 100% oxygen, right? So you can't bring it in there, but um, he has people do the cloud first and then go in and do the hard chamber session. And then sometimes then do a cloud again afterwards. But in the soft chambers, because it's not 100% oxygen, it's a different scenario. So,
That's good. There are a lot of people who are approaching me, and they have kids that have different sorts of brain injuries from autism to um, TBI, concussion syndrome. Uh, could you address how it works on, does it help the brain
Well,
health?
yeah. So just to be clear, and I think, Hyperbaric has a lot of these disclaimers too.
Hmm.
This is a fitness and wellness device. It's not meant to diagnose, prevent, treat, or cure any disease or illness. But if we look at its underlying uh, mechanisms and what it does in terms of, enhancing blood flow, oxygen delivery, reducing inflammation, stimulating tissue regeneration and healing. The body is constantly trying to heal and return to a optimal state. And so one of the in the large trial that I had mentioned, one of the outcomes was cognition and mental sharpness and so forth. And it was just over 6 weeks, and there were significant improvements in cognition. So uh, I can't speak directly to quote diagnoses, but I can speak to the underlying mechanisms that support optimal function of those things. And I have seen people experience positive movement and how they feel.
Hmm. It makes sense in a lot of ways because the brain is somewhat electric if you think about it.
Sure. I mean, it's an electromagnetic, bioelectromagnetic um, organ, among other things. And the other thing I wanted to mention around the effects. So the pulsed electromagnetic field is charges at the molecular level, which is critical for the body to do all the things that it's doing right this moment as we're sitting here. Has to take energy, so you're giving it more of that energy. And then the second thing is the nervous system entrains to what it's in. So if I was blasting heavy metal music in here right now, my nervous system would be a little bit like, ah. And well, we're kind of in heavy metal music all the time through Wi-Fi and 5G and like whatever. It's all this chaotic going all the time. Plus, as you know, Michelle, like a lot of your clients, I'm sure their nervous systems are not in balance. The autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic fight or flight, and the parasympathetic rest and digest is out of balance and chaotic. So when people lay in this gentle field that the cloud produces, their nervous system starts syncing with that. And what I find is that their autonomic nervous system starts coming into regulation. So heart rate variability and just feeling more relaxed and better. I've had people cry after 15 minutes doing a
Mm.
cloud session. And it was because they felt their nervous system settle for the first time, sometimes in years. They're like, oh my God, I finally feel like I'm not being chased like a lion by a lion. Like, how is this possible? Well, it's the entrainment. So that's the other beautiful thing about it. And there's 5 different programs, so they all have like a little different um, song to them. Some are more stimulating, some are more relaxing, and so you can choose based off of what you want.
And there's an opportunity to be able to get other frequency programs too. What I like about the cloud is it's a digital edition of the old PMF format, so that you can literally, if things change or upgrade, it's always easy to add it to the mat.
Yeah, that was important to me. I mean, so I'm kind of a bit of a like, okay, if this truly works, I'll deal with inconveniences. But it is incredibly convenient to use, which is great because that leads to people using it more. It's wireless, foldable. You can run it off your phone. You can run it off, the punch pad. You can lay on it. You can lay it on you. 15 minutes, for session. But the other thing it's a computer on the inside and it's upgradable. So it's not a static product. There's already
Hmm.
been several updates. You just connect it to Wi-Fi and you can update it. And just this month, they have come out with 11 additional programs which you can download into the app and then run these additional programs, which gives you even more options in addition to the original 5,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
is fantastic. And yeah, go ahead.
Including the beamer, right? You can also
Yeah,
do the
if
run the
you, I mean,
beamer
if you want
program
it,
on it.
if you want
Yeah.
it, if you want it, if you want to listen to a snare drum, go for it. Like, that's fine.
Well, there's some people who are very loyal to it, so
Yeah,
I
for
should kind of
sure.
say that.
Yeah, exactly. And Kafka, I've met Dr. Kafka over in Liechtenstein. I've heard him talk about it. He's super proud of what he did in '98. That was a great evolution in the creation of the Beamer signal. And not dissing on that at all. It's just like, you know, I had a flip phone 15 years ago. It was awesome. Made phone calls. It was so cool. It's like, okay, that's awesome. And there's this. So,
Good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You know, there's a lot of people who always, I mean, they come to me and they feel like the frequencies just aren't strong enough in a lot of these mats. And, they want a stronger pulse or a stronger program. And I guess what I heard is that one of your programs actually can increase the potency of it. Do you want to tell
so
us more about that?
yeah, so that's another differentiation fact when you hear quote PMF. There's low intensity. So intensity is like the power, sort of the volume, and then there's high intensity units. The Kloud and Beamer and pretty much all the like home ones that can be used in the home are low intensity. High intensity units are like 250,000 times greater intensity sometimes, need to be used in a medical setting, usually for focal issues and acute things, not for like daily general wellness. So just setting those aside. So we're talking about the low intensity. And I actually I would not want to use high intensity every day, something that I could quote feel easily, because that's like a very directed into certain tissue to try and create a specific response in that tissue versus full body support and daily charging. Um, I get it. Sometimes there are some people who totally feel it, who are very sensitive nervous systems are like, oh yeah, I can feel this. And others are like, I don't feel a thing. However, the effects, like I generally don't feel something like buzzing. Some people feel a little bit of tingling and so forth. But when I use it on a regular basis, I notice my general resilience, vitality, sleep, energy is just starts. And if I stop
Mm.
using it, it starts going like that.
Yeah.
Um, some of the new, um, yes, that one of the new programs is called High Five, is like it's 5 times the frequency of the highest frequency current one. So it's just a very, 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 very fast pulsation. And some people say they these are just coming out. They're coming out this month, and some have got the beta of it, and they do feel some. So you have a lot of options now.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, that is really wonderful. Hey, going back to the concept of oxygen versus electric, the way I look at it is if you had a Ferrari and the oxygen would be more or less the fuel, the gas that you put into it to pump up to get the car running, but the electric would be fine tuning like the engine or the electrical system
Well, it's
so that
you
it could
could
power
almost
up the oxygen.
okay, you can continue
Yeah.
that analogy like
Mhm.
in a carburetor, it mixes fuel and oxygen together, which leads to combustion, which moves the car. So
Mhm.
that's a great analogy, Michelle. Good job. I love
Mhm.
this. So so I would
Good.
say because you can't burn fuel without the oxygen. It won't burn. It has to, so they both have potential, but you got to bring them together. So to me, the cloud, this sophisticated PEMF electromagnetic energy transfer into the system is like the fuel, and then you bring the oxygen in, and then then you multiply the power of the two of them.
Wow. On that note, I have a lot of clients that are clinics, and they already have the hyperbaric chambers and are doing really, really well with their patients. So how would adding a pulsed electric mat to their maybe inside their chamber if they want to do it, or even before it, how would that help their clinic financially or professionally?
Yeah. Well, I would get really specific about the cloud, not just a pulsed electromagnetic field mat, because there's some I would not, they're not sophisticated enough, in my opinion. And I don't see the outcomes enough. Okay, so just again making that point. But to me, it is an absolute no-brainer that you are going to turbocharge the client's response by bringing in the PEMF in addition to hyperbaric. I just know it and I've seen it. And it's a missing piece. Like, you know, energy and physics precedes chemistry. Like you have to have this charge for the physical system to function optimally. And people are going to love it. Like people just feel better when they use it. I mean, Carly, you probably have some to say that you've done a
Oh
lot of
gosh.
demos and
Oh
talked to
yeah.
people and you used it yourself. Like
Yep.
it's sort of this, yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything there about that piece, but
Well, yeah, I mean, it opens the door for so much more in terms of, deeper levels of healing and responsiveness to other things that you're stacking onto your wellness protocol. So hands down, it changes everything, especially
and
for those that are, have reached a plateau,
yeah,
like I see in my practice and that I saw with myself personally. So yeah.
yeah. Standalone, it's amazing. When you combine it with something else, it's like 1 + 1 = 100. So the cloud HBOT is such a great synergy. You will get greater benefits from them both by doing that. And the other thing is anything we do, we have to measure risk benefit, right? So there's
Mhm.
virtually no risk with the cloud. The only like contraindications are pregnancy. That's just because you cannot say anything about pregnancy unless it's been actively studied. So, okay. But pe people take that for what it is. Um, Implantable electric devices such as pacemakers and defibrillators, you have to just ask, they have to ask their doctor and say, hey, I'm using a low intensity PEMF unit. It puts out a maximum of between 1 and 2 Gauss. Is it okay to use with my system? And most modern devices are shielded enough to do that. They just have to check that. And then transplant, organ transplant clients. And the reason is people who have transplant are on in complete immune suppression with drugs to keep from rejecting the transplant. The cloud PEMF stimulates the immune system and makes it more active, and so that's a theoretical concern. But for people who don't have transplants, that's an awesome effect, right? To activate the immune system.
Gary Brecka has made biohacking really big with the program that's called the Superhuman program recently, and you hear a lot about it either from him or lots of other podcasters who are talking about it. And it has to do with three of the Earth's healing mechanisms and how all three put together are so powerful for the body as a whole. One of them being red light, the other being obviously oxygen, and then finally the Earth's energy, which is the magnetic energy, which is the PEMA protocol we're talking about right now.
Mm.
Yeah, so the Earth, a little nuance. The Earth's magnetic field is a static field. So people say, was this a grounding? Is this a grounding mat? Or grounding mat just equalizes charge. Like if you have a static buildup because you haven't touched the ground, as soon as you do that, like pull something out of the dryer, snap, it neutralizes the charge, but it's not actively charging. It's a static magnetic field where PMF is the pulsating electromagnetic field that raises the electron charge. And that's so critical for you to be able to respond to light and oxygen and nutrients and everything your body is trying to do. We are
I'm
the
glad you
Earth.
brought that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
No,
I was just gonna say the Earth does have a pulsed electromagnetic field called the Schumann resonance, which is about 7.83 hertz in general, but it is super, super, super low intensity. But it's like the sort of the aroma that we are in all the time. Um, but this, the cloud is multiple magnitudes stronger, such that it actually actively charges the body.
I'm glad you brought up the point about the grounding because a lot of the hyperbaric chambers that are on the market, when you click on it and you want to buy it, they automatically ask you if you want to buy a grounding mat for X hundreds of thousands of, dollars to add it into it, which I've never really understood why they do that, honestly. But adding a PMA cloud mat, I think would be a lot more powerful than just buying a grounding mat for your hyperbaric chamber, don't you?
Absolutely, because a grounding mat does not actively charge. It just neutralizes an imbalance and a buildup, which is good, but it is not charging you at the molecular level, nor is it creating a signal that you're in that brings nervous system coherence. And for your physiology, your biochemistry to optimally perform, you have to have that voltage. And this actively transfers that energy into the system.
Wow. Well, on that note, that's super powerful, and everything you've said is just so convincing of how powerful PMA is, and the cloud. I guess the final thing that would be important to mention is that if anybody is interested in the cloud, you're going to get a lot of support from this guy, from Dr. Jeff. So, yeah, could you talk about that, Carly?
Yeah, so when you join Michelle's team, and we'll give the information in our show notes about how to contact Michelle and go to your URL for the cloud, and it's centropics.us/hyperbaric central, and join as a brand partner, not just a customer, but join as a brand partner, become part of our team. You would have access to put in a support ticket to speak to Dr. Jeff about any sort of medical concerns you might have using the cloud. So, and you get the support of us. You have a lot of other benefits to that, and the continued knowledge that you can keep learning. And anything else you want to say about that, Dr. Jeff?
No, it's just, there are a lot of affiliates out there now, and you have to buy it through an affiliate site. So you have choices. If you like our vibe, Michelle is very well knowledgeable. Carly is very knowledgeable. I'm very knowledgeable. So you would have, access to this team right here. So if you like who we are and want to collaborate and be, part of a community and coordinate and see how we can best help people thrive. I mean, that's what
Yeah,
Mhm.
lights me up.
well put.
Yeah, and I would not
Absolutely.
I don't have a hyperbaric chamber, but I would not have one without a cloud, because you're not getting the full effect of it without that piece, in my opinion.
If I if I could just add one more thing is that, for a lot of clinics, for example, you could make some extra money by, when your patients are recovering with the cloud, they may want to have one for their home as well. So it does allow you to, I guess, provide one for your patients.
Yeah, for sure. There's clinics do that in a number of ways. They may have
Mhm.
a couple sets that they rent out to clients to take home and use at home. They also charge for sessions in the clinic when people use the cloud in it by itself, or in addition to, or simultaneously with what they're doing. And then, of course, a lot of people who try it and use it are like, I want this at home, which I think they should. They should, it's part
Yeah.
of like brushing your teeth twice a day is like doing the Kloud twice a day for resilience and well-being. And so they would be able to get them through, their affiliate site rather than yours and just commission and all that. So to me, it has to be a win-win. It has to be in the best interest of people, which it is. And so I feel good about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to not feel excited about sharing the Kloud as both a practitioner and a user of the technology. Once you start feeling it and you seeing the improvement in your patient population. So
Yeah.
it's just a natural, organic flow of how sharing goes when you have, this heart-centered approach, and you really are looking out for the betterment of your people that you work with. So, yeah. Anything else you want to add, Michelle or Dr. Jeff?
No,
No,
this
it's been great.
Yeah, great conversation. And I really encourage all of you listeners to contact Michelle with any questions and just get curious if this resonates with you. We'd love to be here for you. So thank you so much for joining us today and have a great one.
thank
We'll see
you.
you
All right,
soon.
take care.
All right.